Good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk, a program where we highlight political issues concerning Nigeria. My name is Ubong Osoro, your host on the show. Tonight we look at 2027 politics. We look at the coalition and opposition and what are the chances they have to defeating the ruling All Progressive Congress. We are seeing a lot of development as regards the politics of the opposition. Now the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, has just set up a mobilization committee, right, to mobilize and register new members for the ADC, the African Democratic Congress. We've also seen some defections to the ADC where Peter Obi, 2023 presidential candidate with the Labour Party, is now with the ADC. Senator Abaribe, we've seen him, a PDP member, we've also moved to the ADC, and we've seen a lot of other politicians moving to the ADC. Is the ADC the party to wrestle power out of the hands of the ruling APC in 2027? Those are questions that my guests will be helping us to answer. Or is there any other political party that can, go into that battle? What are the options? What are the choices for Nigerians as we look forward to the 2027 general elections? Elections may be conducted in 2027 in February, and if that happens, we have, let's just say, 1 year to that particular time. But let's go for a short break, and when we're back, we will get into our discussion for tonight. Stay with us.
It's our economy. Politics shapes our security. Politics defines our future. But who is asking the hard question?
Is intimidating governors to our opposition, and some allegations even say monies are offered to the tune of billions of naira to these governors to come to the APC.
On Big Talk, we take politics beyond party lines and press statements. We interrogate policies, challenge power,
and it shall be addressed,
and demand accountability from those who govern, from the presidency to the National Assembly, from state governments to grassroots politics. We break down the decisions that affect your daily life. No propaganda, no political comfort zone, just facts, context, and fearless conversations. Big Talk is where leaders explain, analysts dissect, and the people understand.
2015 elections were not held. They are doing rigging.
Don't just watch politics, question it. Tune in to Big Talk on Global Television every weekday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join the conversation. It's our economy. Politics shapes our security. Politics defines our future. But who is asking the hard question?
Is intimidating governors to our opposition, and some allegations even say monies are offered to the tune of billions of naira to these governors to come to the APC.
On Big Talk, we take politics beyond party lines and press statements. We interrogate policies, challenge power,
and it shall be addressed,
and demand accountability from those who govern, from the presidency to the National Assembly, from state governments to grassroots politics. We break down the decisions that affect your daily life. No propaganda, no political comfort zone, just facts, context, and fearless conversations. Big Talk is where leaders explain, analysts dissect, and the people understand.
2015 elections were not held. They are doing rigging.
Don't just watch politics, question it. Tune in to Big Talk on Global Television every weekday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join the conversation.
All right, so tonight on the program, we'll be looking at candidates, coalition, and the chances for opposition politicians and those in the opposition to actually wrestle power out of the hands of the ruling All Progressive Congress. We are seeing that politics has already started. We are seeing the FCT minister moving from one local government area in Rivers State to the other, telling people about the renewed hope. And very soon, we'll also be seeing this happening in different parts of Nigeria, where politicians will be telling people about the candidates that they will be supporting. Just some days ago, we saw Aisha Yusufu, a very prominent social media critic and a political activist, register with the ADC. And just a few days ago, we also saw the ADC bring out a committee to do a membership mobilization, and different other political parties are strategizing. Of course, before the end of December 2025, we had the Labour Party hold its non-executive congress, and we had different other political parties do their own congresses, trying to see how to bring their machineries in place and in power to be able to challenge the APC as we head into the 2027 general elections. But also, the APC is talking tough, saying it won't be an easy fight. In fact, the APC says by the reforms that they've brought into Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians will be happy to vote for them. And there's been many of these reforms. We've seen the standardization of Forex, that's the foreign exchange. We've seen the suspension of subsidy on petrol, PMS. That has been a policy statement that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the day of inauguration said subsidy is gone. That very famous statement. And that's been one policy that the APC has advanced the argument that it's been for the good of Nigerians. But some Nigerians say no, it's brought more pain and suffering. But this will be wrestled out at the ballot as Nigerians will get to vote. So joining us tonight to help make sense of this conversation is Comrade Isaac Owoicho. Comrade Isaac is the President Youth for Good Governance, who's joined us tonight on the program. Thank you so much, Comrade, for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here tonight.
Right. We'll talk 2027 politics now, and the chances, the position, the coalition, and all of this. Now we are having the ADC emerging, and the PDP, of course, yes, it has its own problem, but the PDP is also a very popular opposition party. You can't rule out the PDP. They've ruled Nigeria. In fact, they've been everywhere. 1999 to 2015, when Goodluck Jonathan handed over power. Let's talk in your view. Do you think that the opposition now, the APC, the ADC, the PDP, the Labour Party, can they challenge the APC to move towards 2027?
Politically speaking, you cannot rule out coalition, because talking about APC is a product of coalition. So when you speak politics, anything is obtainable and possible in politics. So anybody can emerge.
Right. So what are the chances? Let's get into the dynamics now. What are the chances that you are seeing?
No, talking about the chances of emergence of the coalition, right. For now, every political party has an equal stand. It all depends on the electorate, the Nigerians, to decide whether the Tinubu administration has done fair or has not done well at all, to determine whether the coalition will emerge victorious at the poll. But talking about the coalition, who are the people making up the coalition in the first place? What are the reasons for this coalition? Is it a coalition that is based on grievance, or is it a coalition of people that have ruled this country well and then coming to tell us that there is something better they want to offer? Or is it a coalition of people who possibly have failed in time past, have possibly failed to do the needful, and now they are coming back to tell us that the Tinubu administration is not worthy of leading the country? So these are the questions we should be asking. And Nigerians are not stupid. We are enlightened enough to know the truth for ourselves.
All right, so let's interrogate some of the things. You've said Nigerians are those who choose, but you know that when it comes to campaign, the campaigns are not started officially. When it comes to campaign, you campaign based on the issue. And one of the issues that has been so outstanding is the fuel subsidy removal. You are the president of Youth for Good Governance. What is your take on that particular policy, the fuel subsidy removal by the ruling APC government?
Prior to the last election, almost all the political candidates said they were going to remove the subsidy. I think the question, the timing in which the subsidy was removed. But you would agree with me that whichever time you choose to remove the subsidy, Nigerians will still feel the heat, whether at the beginning, at the middle, or even towards this election. One of the things that is pertinent with Nigerians is that Nigerians are not really acclimatized to change or changes in a hurry. Now, the Tinubu administration came in and said, okay, subsidy is gone, and a whole lot of Nigerians grieved over that statement. And of course, the question is that who is hurting who? Immediately, the president says subsidy is gone. The marketers increase the prices of their commodity. Even people that don't know anything about subsidy removal, even in the villages, everything increased sporadically. So I think the major problem of Nigeria is that we are less patriotic than we ought to be. You know, we must love ourselves beyond the government, because every government comes and goes, and we remain Nigerians. Right. Yes.
So, but you've not given me your assessment. You've talked about the fact that yes, Nigerians increase the price. Just a minute, comrade. For you, what is your view of that policy, the removal? Because that's a major policy. And we saw the skyrocketing. Yeah, you could talk about it was temporarily, it was inflicted by Nigerians. But whatever happened, we saw the spike in the prices of transportation, in the prices of goods, and this affects everything, and it affects Nigerians. Those villages you mentioned, we have people in the villages. Maybe you don't have people in the villages. I do. Let's talk about it. What is your view on that policy?
Let us do an exponential analysis on that policy. Prior to the removal of subsidy, what were we benefiting from the subsidy? Prior to that time, we've had queues at our filling stations. But for quite a while now, we've not had such queue. For every policy, there are advantages and there are disadvantages. Now, the removal of subsidy has made available so much fund in the hands of our politicians, starting from the state governors to our legislators, the senators, and the House of Representatives. I think what Nigerians is lagging is that Nigerians are lacking electoral intelligence. You understand? If we have electoral education enough, we shouldn't even face the federal. We should return back to our states and hold our governors, our legislators accountable to the funds released to the states, because there's so much funds in their hand with little or no project in most of the states, except for a few states that are doing sporadically well.
All right, so let's look at the candidates now. We'll come to talk about the dynamics later, but we have some candidates that their names are already being thrown up. Maybe I'll allow you go first. Maybe you have some names that you're thinking that these are the names that may be running for office. That's the office of the President of Nigeria as we approach 2027. What are some of the names that you are hearing?
Of course, it is no longer news. The name Peter Obi is on the front burner. And of course, the sitting president, he's not giving up. Talking about Jagaban, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And of course, the body language of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar is still indicating that he still really want to run. And the likes of Amechi, we really don't know their particular stand, but they are interested as well. And then the likes of Bala of Bauchi, Bala Mohammed, His Excellency. You understand, these people still having the dream, nurturing the dream of coming up for the presidency. And from some quarters, some persons are still pushing the former president Goodluck Jonathan should come out and run again. You understand? So we have a lot of options for Nigerians. Right, that's a long list. So a long list of candidates.
Let's interrupt one after the other. Peter Obi has scored 6 million votes in 2023 general elections. Yes. What are the chances?
I don't think he might be having such privilege any longer, because I do not love a politician that has no particular stand. Peter Obi was a product of the Labour Party. That was a party that was not really pronounced prior to his emergence, but his personality pronounced the party and made it so prominent. And he left the Labour Party when the Labour Party needed him to knit it together. Now, a man that has no capacity to hold a political party For me, I don't think he has that capacity or tenacity to hold a nation such as Nigeria together. You understand? That is for Peter Obi. And then talking about his political pedigree. Now, a governor at the time, enjoying the privileges of the country, impeached at a particular time by the House of Assembly. I don't see Peter Obi as an exceptional politician. I'm sorry. I see him as a good businessman, but I don't see him as an exceptional politician, because if I can't be the governor and then my House of Assembly would impeach me, that simply means I have no grip over the House of Assembly. And what were the reasons for his impeachment, if not for the court that reinstated him? You understand? So when you're talking about a country such as Nigeria, we don't need someone with simplicity. We need someone that is as complex as a country itself. And we don't need a man who has so many advisors, godfathers, you understand, to dictate to him or her on how the affairs of the country is run. You understand? So a lot of people hype on the person of Peter Obi. I like him as a person. If you go into business, I would like to have a deal with the person of Peter Obi. But talking about running the country in the dispensation in which we are in the global scene, I don't see him as a very
I still like to stay with Peter Obi for some moments, comrade.
Yes.
All right. We saw it was vice presidential candidate in 2019 to Atiku Abubakar under the platform of the People's Democratic Party. That's the PDP. Right.
I remember then he came on and said the PDP wasn't a good political party, and he left Atiku Abubakar.
No, he left. He didn't leave Atiku Abubakar. He left the PDP in 2023. Close to the election.
When the body language was showing that he wasn't going to win the primaries.
Right? Because he said,
politicking is your ability to politic well.
Just a minute, comrade. And some of the issues he advanced was that it seems that the primary was going to be bought over by some elements, and he left because he didn't feel that it would be a fair playing ground, right? But he went to Labour Party, like you said, and got 6 million votes. Wasn't that astonishing for you, especially in Nigerian political process, for a first timer getting 6 million votes in our country and across Nigeria? I know you could say he got more votes in the Southeast, but he won Lagos State, he won in the North Central, right? So what are we saying?
It was quite astonishing, no doubt. And that was because Nigerians came together and said, remember, there were issues then. When the likes of Tinubu came out then, it wasn't because Nigeria never liked him that much. But Nigeria felt Nigeria is a multi-religious country, multi-ethnic country, and Nigeria should not be led by just a faction of the country. And then the Muslim factor, you understand, was one of the effects that gave it to be such a privilege, you understand. But now the politics has come and gone, and now we have seen the effect of the Muslim ticket, and we have seen that, talking about the representation of both religion, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu hasn't done badly at all. So the Muslim perception from the side of the Christian has not really come to stay as presumed prior to the election. That is one of the things you should put into consideration before the coming election. So Nigerians now understand that policy is beyond religion now. And remember again, one of the reasons why Nigerians vied for P2B was some of the failure of blessed memory, of the former President Buhari,
former late President Muhammadu Buhari. You say failures?
Yes.
He failed.
Yes, for me he failed woefully, because he happens to be one of the first presidents that divided the country psychologically.
Buhari divided Nigeria.
There was a psychological divide in the country. Right. Whether you understand this or you don't understand it, when you go to most of the ministry, you discover that a part of the country was sidelined. Almost everything was northern oriented and Islamically oriented. So Nigeria, the Christian felt totally marginalized. Then you are not coming with the Muslim ticket again. Of course, what do you expect? Nigerians will whip sympathy for Peter Obi. But in the coming election, the game may not be the same like the previous election.
Right, so but I talked about the 6 million votes. Don't you think he will still, no matter the party, don't you think he can still get that 6 million vote if he gets the tickets of the ADC? Remember, we have other candidates we are going to be looking at tonight, but let's stay with Mr. Peter Obi.
Right. No, the interesting thing is that I want you to know that there was no Peter Obi. There was the Nigerian factor. The Nigerian people making up their minds to make a change, no matter what it was going to cost. I remember the scorecard of P2B as read and understood and interpreted by most Nigerians when he was the governor of Anambra. He left so much money in the coffer of the state. For me, I see that as failure. You understand?
Saving for raining days. Peter Obi saved. Peter Obi saved money for raining days.
Let me explain what I meant by that. Right. There were still more projects to be done. What happened to that money that you kept when the next governor came? The money is nowhere to be found. You understand? When there is so much work to be done, I see Nigerian politicians as people that project the future and do certain things so that they can use it as a testament for their success in the future. There was so much work to be done in Anambra. Now, if you leave in money, was it because your tenure was elapsing and then you had no more opportunity to do more projects? That's why you left the money in the coffer. I rather celebrate a governor who didn't leave so much money but did much project and never collected loan from any other country than celebrate a governor that has more to be done and saving money that you never can verge for.
But Peter Obi is one Nigerian politician that we've not heard corruption allegations against him, and that's very rare for Nigerian politicians. Don't you think we need somebody who embodies anti-corruption in his character, in his doings?
Quote me. I love Peter Obi when it comes to business. But politics is beyond decency. Sometimes politics needs brutality. You see, when you talk about the likes of Donald Trump, since his emergence, different parts of the world have been very careful with the United States of America. They no longer toy with America because he is a tough president. Rather than you run after him, he runs after you. We don't need a man. There are times that diplomacy don't work in the running of a nation. And based on my little historical perspective to leadership, I have come to learn that the most decent people in the world have not really been the best leaders in the world. You understand? Sometimes the most brutal people have been better leaders all around the world.
I have things, but let me not mention. Let's get to the other candidates I like us to look at. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, largely very mentioned, former vice president, 1999 to 2007, and a perennial presidential contestant since then. He's been contesting for elections since 1993 under the SDP. He contested the primaries with our late MKO Abiola. Abiola won. We thought Abiola was going to give him the vice presidential ticket, but he didn't give to him and all of that. But Atiku has been very pronounced on the national stage for a long time now. Let's talk about him. What are the chances of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar?
The name Atiku, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, is a big name in Nigerian politics. You can't rule his personality out when you talk about the Nigerian political system. However, I wonder what some of these people look for. Even with their age, Nigerian politics should get to a level of mentorship where you have tried and tried. You should mentor the younger generation.
But the constitution does not have age limits.
There's no age limit.
There's no age limit to contesting to be Nigeria's president.
Yes, I agree with you. Right. But the person of Atiku Abubakar stands an equal chance for victory with any other candidate. Like I said, it's all about your manifestos. It's all about selling yourself to the Nigerian citizenry and making them to believe in your manifesto enough to support you. So Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, and the current president, for me, they all have equal chance to victory.
All right. So, but the dynamics around Atiku, you talked about some of the things that worked in favor of.
But the whole lot of
things that work in favor for Atiku Abubakar.
Experience. You cannot rule out experience. He's been a vice president to Olusegun Obasanjo, one of the toughest presidents, one of the most charismatic leaders we've had. So you cannot rule out that place of experience from Atiku Abubakar. Number two is from the northern region. Currently, the body language of the North does not seem to parley with the current president. So that is an advantage for His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. However, like I said, it's all about politicking. Anybody can win. When the politics starts in earnest, most of our analysis will be thwarted, and new points of views will emerge.
It's not an academic
yes, it's not an academic exercise that the stereotype or theory. So when the campaign starts in earnest, even my own philosophy, my perception to a whole lot of things might still have to change. So anybody has an equal chance.
Right. So, but let's look at the current president now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because if somebody say maybe mention the top three, I know these are the names that you mentioned: Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, and Peter Obi. Every other person has equal chances, like you've said. But Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we saw him wrestle power from even his own party. Right, getting that particular ticket, he had to say, Emilokon, it's my turn, it's my time, I've sacrificed, I've waited. What are his chances of getting re-elected?
I must say emphatically that I admire the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as opposed to a whole lot of people's opinion. This is the man that came and said, it is my turn. In as much as Nigeria does not belong to an individual, the audacity to believe in a dream, I learned from him. And your ability to pursue a dream.
Has a book,
you understand? The audacity of hope. You understand? I learned that from him. There were so many odds against him in the last election. I think the toughest political era was that last election. And this man still emerged victorious. That tells you that he's a man that has been bred and seasoned with time. And I must be honest with you, he has made the toughest decision ever in the history of Nigerian politics. Some of the decisions that the president is taking currently are decisions that ordinarily would make any man lose election. But the man doesn't mind, believing that this decision may not be understood by Nigerians today, but in generations to come, they will get to understand that these decisions and these reforms will transmogrify and redefine the political landscape of the country. Example, one of the audacity of the president was the autonomy of the local government, which till date, most of our politicians are still politicking, playing politics to throw it under the carpet. He knew that passing through the legislature, it might be bureaucratic and it might take a whole lot of procedure. So he went to the Supreme Court and granted autonomy. So I'm expecting Nigerians to canvass for the implementation of that autonomy of local government. Because when there is autonomy of local government, everything trickles from the federal to the grassroots, and a lot of people wouldn't have to go to the federal any longer. A lot of things will happen at the local level. Nigerians have left matters that matter to focus on matters that have less consequence to them. You understand? And then talking about the tax reform, even as we speak, a whole lot of people don't have maximum understanding. In fact, before we got into January, somebody came and met me and said, I want to increase school fees because of this tax reform. But you have been making transactions since the beginning of this January. You that is sending money, you are the one that pay. The person receiving doesn't pay. I think the tax is proportional to your earning, and the tax is bringing about equity, you understand, in the country as a whole. So that is why I told you from the beginning that one of the major problems we have as a nation is that our younger generation, the younger generation is not interested in politics. You understand? And because they are not interested in politics, they lack electoral education. You understand? They don't know where to channel their strength and their fight and whom to fight. You understand? Everything that happens in this country, everything that points to the president. You understand? Whereas the president has brought policies that are favorable to the common man. What are you expected to do? Hold those representing you accountable for implementation of the policies from the federal.
All right, so you talked about the fact that the Muslim ticket favored the president in 2023, especially in the north. A lot of persons said, okay, Muslim, let's vote for. But going into 2027, the dynamics may be changing. What are you seeing around the president? Some have said president may have to drop Shetima and look for a Christian from maybe the northeast or the northwest to to come on that ticket with him?
One of the most honest truths is that religion does not lead a country. Culture does not lead a country. And just to quote Peter Obi, when your car gets knocked down, you wouldn't look for a Christian or a Muslim, you look for the best hand to get it fixed. Is it not true? I'm not particular about religion, I'm not particular about culture, I'm particular about representation and leadership. You understand? Irrespective of whether it's a Christian or Muslim, what ticket, what matters is leadership. However, in a complex nation like ours, there should be equitable representation. You understand? There should be a balance. If there is a Christian president, then there should be a Muslim president. And if there is a Muslim president, then there should be a Christian vice president for the purpose of quenching the doubting nature of the Nigerian electorate. You understand? However, religion or culture do not lead the people.
Right, so let's look at other candidates now. We've looked at Peter Obi, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But there's a Rotimi Amaechi, former governor of Rivers State, and also former Minister of Transportation, former Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly for 8 years. Highly educated, highly experienced as to leadership. And in fact, somebody said that he was the best performing minister of the Buhari's era. Maybe you start from that assessment. Was he? You said that administration failed woefully, according to your remark. And what chances does Rotimi Amaechi stand?
The best performing minister? Maybe I have to go for my research on that.
During Buhari's era?
During Buhari's era, I can't say in earnest that he was the best performing minister.
You built a transport university?
You built a transport. How does it transform for the betterment of the Nigerian transportation system? In fact, the best transportation system we enjoy in FCT, these were some of the projects of El-Rufai before he left as the FCT minister. But Amaechi as the transport minister didn't do badly though, you understand? But I wouldn't say categorically that he was the best. Like you said, some said, not everybody. You understand? He didn't do badly, and I wouldn't say he did exceedingly well. If you cannot rule your house, you cannot rule another person's house. You understand? These people saw a whole lot of anomalies prior to their departure from power. And some of them want to come back. What do they want to change that they never had the opportunity to change when they had the privilege to change things? You understand? I think Nigerians should be craving for a new breeds of leaders, not this bunch of leaders that for me have failed us. We are recycling people that have failed us. They are repackaging and rebranding themselves with new tales for us to support them. So that we can vote for them.
Maybe when you say to us, are you meaning when Rotimi Amaechi said that he cannot afford to buy a PMS at the moment?
That is sarcastic. And if the likes of Amaechi tells you he cannot afford to buy PMS, that should be fallacious. These are people that have made so much money in this country. These are people that live like oligarchs. These are people that live like lords in this country. Not only are they living like lords, their families, their children, those that are related to them live like oligarchs. You don't live like they live. So that should be a political statement. So somebody like him say he cannot afford to buy, for me, is fallacious.
So you are not seeing him having any chances?
Like I said, politics and its intrigue is something that you cannot fathom in a hurry. Politics can change overnight. We are moving into the campaign. One of the things I want the media to work on, there should be compulsory room for a debate. Let's get to listen to these people's manifestos. Let Nigerians get to hear them.
Right, talking about presidential debates, before I get to the other candidates, we still have some persons to highlight now. We've never really had a robust presidential debate like we had in the US. Remember that Donald Trump would have been on that ballot, would have been on a ticket, fighting it out, slugging it out with Joe Biden.
Of course.
But when they got to that debate, Joe Biden wasn't really performing. And that necessitated the Democrats as a party to change him. But we've never really we had a debate once, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar went and our former late President Buhari wasn't available, and Atiku...
That has been the norm. That has been it. It's either one is there, the other one is not there. Do you understand? Because these people fear to come together to present their manifestos collectively. But what they do is propaganda. You see this politician lashing this one and this other one lashing the other one. That is what they do in the Nigerian political system. But the media house should work together. Our politics should never be bigger than the electorate. The electorates are lesser than the politician because we have lost our rights as electorate. And what do I mean by that? You discover that out of 100% of the voting population in the country, less than 50% have the voting power. Out of 100% of the younger generation, majority came out in the last election to own their PVCs because of the Peter Obi, you understand, syndrome. But you discover that even with that mass turn up, you discover that less than 50% still has the voting power. And then you're not talking about rigging. Rigging is possible when majorities don't vote. And even those that collect the PVCs, how many of them turn out to vote? So a lot of things are taking the interest of the younger generation.
Right, so let's go.
These old men, let me tell you, these old men ruled us in their youthful age, returned back again. Some even ruled us in their military era, came back in their civilian regalia, and see they are ruling us. Is it that something is wrong with us?
Right, we'll talk about all of that and straight the other candidate. But let's go for a short break. Thank you so much, comrade.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go for a short break. When we're back, we'll still talk about 2027 politics. What are the candidates that may be contesting, the coalition that may be emerging, and the chances of all of them? We'll come back after the short break. Stay with us.
It's our economy. Politics shapes our security. Politics defines our future. But who is asking the hard question?
Is intimidating governors to our opposition, and some allegations even say monies are offered to the tune of billions of naira to these governors to come to the APC.
On Big Talk, we take politics beyond party lines and press statements. We interrogate policies, challenge power,
and it shall be addressed.
And demand accountability from those who govern, from the presidency to the National Assembly, from state governments to grassroots politics. We break down the decisions that affect your daily life. No propaganda, no political comfort zone, just facts, context, and fearless conversations. Big Talk is where leaders explain, analysts dissect, and the people understand.
2015 elections were not held. They are doing rigging.
Don't just watch politics, question it. Tune in to Big Talk on Global Television every weekday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join the conversation.
Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, this is Big Talk, a program where we highlight political issues concerning Nigeria. Tonight on the show, we have Comrade Isaac Owoicho, who's joined us as we look at 2027 politics, the candidates, a coalition that is emerging, and the chances that they have. So over now to you, Comrade. We've looked at 4 candidates now, but let's look at a governor, a serving governor, Bala Mohammed. As to the chances, Bala Mohammed seems to be the fulcrum of the PDP at this moment. You could talk about which faction of the PDP, but he's still a PDP member and a fulcrum of the PDP. And we are also seeing Seyi Makinde emerging also as a unicorn in the PDP. Are we going to be seeing the PDP being a major challenger in the 2027 general elections?
I don't see them producing anything serious.
That's the PDP.
The PDP.
They ruled Nigeria for 16 years.
This is a political party that should be the leading party, irrespective of who is in power. But when people lost their vision and purpose, what is happening to them becomes inevitable. People say policy is a game of interest, but the interest should not just be yourself. It should be the people. And this is where I come to appreciate the likes of Makinde and the likes of Bala Mohammed, His Excellency Bala Mohammed, because despite everything that has happened, they said we are still remaining in the PDP. To be honest with you, the total displacement of opposition is not good for our democracy. Every democracy without opposition does not encourage checks and balances. So I would want to encourage the PDP rather than want to seize power, which for me is not visible in this coming election. They should return back to their drawing board, unify themselves, understand their failures and their successes, and then return back. Not in this election, not in this election, except they want to deceive themselves. Except maybe the likes of former President Goodluck Jonathan agrees to emerge from that party. The Nigerian might be tempted to whip sentiment, you understand? But I don't see the PDP producing
so your analysis, comrade, is that if Goodluck Jonathan runs for an election now, Nigerians will vote him.
Because Nigerians can be very sentimental most of the times.
But the Nigerians voted him out. So
yes.
If he voted him out, that could be too hard. But he lost.
Yes, but you know Nigerians are quite emotional without being realistic most of the times.
Nigerians are emotional.
Because to be honest with you, most of the problems we are trying to solve today are problems that were not properly managed by Goodluck Jonathan. There were a whole lot of lapses that brought about some of the failures we are having as a nation today. The likes of Okonjo-Iweala gave some warnings, and Nigeria never returned back to history. Now, Nigerians will tell you that during Goodluck Jonathan things were achieved, but that was a global effect. At a particular dispensation, there was at a particular time in the globe, we had what is called recession all over the world. That didn't just affect the Western world, it affected Nigeria too. So nothing remains static forever. You understand? But I don't see the PDP in a nutshell producing anything serious. In as much as I respect the person of Makinde and I respect the person of Bala Mohammed, I don't see these two producing anything serious. So because the real gladiators, the likes of David Mark, who now happen to be the chairperson of the ADC, have left the PDP. You cannot rule out the personality of David Mark, because that man may be quiet, but he's a brain buster. You understand? When it comes to Nigerian politics. And these are the people that held this party together, and they have left the party to ADC. So, but
they still have a lot of serious politicians. But George is still in the PDP. Goodluck Jonathan said, I don't know if you've seen the statement, he said, this party gave me everything. I'm still loyal to the party.
Loyalty does not make you a gladiator of a political party. To be a gladiator of a political party is your ability to seize power, you understand, in the name of that political party. For those of us that understand the likes of the person of Goodluck Jonathan, he's a gentleman. Nigerian politics is not for gentlemen. And I must be honest with you.
Bola Tinubu is not a gentleman.
When I say gentle, it's in quotes, you understand. Taking tough decisions requires ruggedity. And these are areas where I celebrate the person of the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He takes decisions that we may not understand today, but in generations to come. He properly followed up. Because one of the things we are lacking as a nation is continuity of governance. Everybody comes with his own agenda. Unlike the United States of America, where you have the Democrat and you have the Republican. Any Democrat that comes continues with the manifesto of the Democrat. Any Republican that comes continues in that line. But every Nigerian president that comes thwarts the previous and wants to continue with his own agenda. If the good, beautiful policies of President Bola Ahmed are properly harnessed, because you don't expect him, he's not a magician.
Right. Let me just say a few things about the Goodluck Jonathan's government, because I was around and
I was around.
Very much around.
I didn't travel out.
Nigeria's economy during Goodluck Jonathan's time was the best performing economy in Africa.
Yes.
What can you say about that?
The question is, what was the economy before his emergence as a president? At every time in history, something is better than something. Even before he came, Nigeria was better. In the 80s, Nigeria was better. In the 70s, Nigeria was better than the 80s. Talking about economy. But the question is, where did we miss it? This is the question you should be asking. The likes of Dezani, we allow Alison Dezani, we allow to do and undo, even as a woman in power. You understand? These were some of the challenges of the likes of Amechi that they rose against it, and then the misunderstanding between Goodluck Jonathan's wife and Amechi, coupled with the alarming corruption that we actually breeding. But
at that time, even the government that came into power in 2020, in 2015, the APC campaign on a tripartite campaign promises of security, ending insecurity, corruption, ending corruption, and fixing Nigeria's economy. We're seeing monumental corruption now emerging from Buhari's led administration. At least allegations at the moment. I don't want to mention them, but you know those.
I like you because of your specific statement. The Buhari-led administration. Now we are talking about the current administration and what is the current administration doing to curb some of the shortcomings from the previous government. In as much as you can, corruption is prevalent all over the globe.
We like saying that. No, we like saying that. Nigerians like saying that corruption is everywhere. Corruption is everywhere.
Corruption shouldn't be something which we should be encouraging. In all ramifications. We shouldn't be encouraging corruption so that the younger generation do not come and do something more colossal than what we are having at the moment.
But it's everywhere.
but we always believe corruption is everywhere. That should not be. We should be more patriotic.
Can we not stop it here?
We can actually stop it. You understand? Now, you gave a scorecard of that government. I benefited from that government too, to be honest. But sometimes for things to change, you go through the hard times. And I respect the president, the current president, because he never, in as much as he promised in the campaign seasons, that things were going to change. When he took over, immediately he said, we are going to go through tough times. But we have to bear it. If things must have to change. And you need to understand that campaign is different from leadership. I can convince you to support me, and what I want to do is latent in my mind. Do you understand? All I need is let me just get to power and then do the needful. You know, I see the president currently is doing it, and I wish Nigerians are patient enough to observe and then to understand. Now, talking about one of the most pronounced ills in the country at the moment is insecurity. When did this insecurity start? It didn't start even from Buhari. In as much as there are accusing fingers that some politicians were the ones that initiated some of this insurgency, you understand? But in which government, even under Goodluck Jonathan, there were bomb blasts. I think one of the most famous bomb blasts in the FCT was from the Nyanya bomb blast, the UN building. You understand? And then we had moved then to the Buhari government. We had issues of snakes swallowing money, monumental corruption. And then we had even, apart from snake, monkey swallowing money, and nothing was done. We've not heard such statement in this current administration. I think when the former Minister of Humanitarian, the person of Better Edu, you understand, allegations were laid against on corruption. It didn't take so much time.
Should I also tell you, ministers in this administration, that allegation has been laid?
Example? I'm interested.
You want to hear the names of the ministers? Yes, I want to hear the names of the ministers. Go ahead, I'll mention before.
No, okay, I'll be waiting.
In this administration, allegations have been laid. Yes. Even when Betta was suspended, he was not the only minister at the time whose name allegations were laid on.
In as much as I know that was a setup and a propaganda to a large extent, because even the person prior to her emergence, there were a lot of allegations on corruption laid on the humanitarian minister before Betta Edu. You understand? But let's not go there. Talking about insecurity, the current president never slept on the matter of insurgency from the inception. I think, to be vivid, I was privileged to be at the launching of security outlets under the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, where he had to deploy a lot of security men with vehicles, with bikes for them to go into villages. If you remember, immediately the president came into power, something followed him into that power. That was kidnapping. In earnest, petty kidnapping. There is a reduction in the FCT cosmopolitan region to a large extent. Then talking about recently, we are beginning to enjoy relative peace.
We're out of time now, but I'd like to ask the last question. In all of this, don't we have a young person emerging as a candidate that Nigerians could support? Why? You've talked about recycling of politicians. Why are we not having young Nigerians emerging?
How can we have young people when the country has never been fair to the young people? How much do you have to come out? The Buhari administration came up with not too young to run. But how much is the ticket for you to run an election in this country? Just to join a political party to get a ticket alone requires so much fund. And Nigerian political system has not gotten to that level where people can vouch for themselves and raise funds for themselves.
Peter Obi raised funds.
So Peter Obi is, like I told you, Peter Obi is a tornado. He's a hurricane.
Right.
He's a one season personality that
we can't say that. We have to
in the Nigerian political landscape.
Thank you.
So let the young people support the young people. Let them forget about
give me a name. Who is a young person that you are thinking?
Why you can run?
No, I'm not running for president.
I can run.
I'm not running for president.
I wish to run.
All right.
Do you understand?
We'll support.
If you will support me, I wouldn't mind to run for the presidency of the country.
Isaac.
All right.
We really did appreciate having conversation with you tonight. And people, that's the side of our program. Tonight we looked at 2027 politics as we highlighted some candidates, coalition, and the chances they stand to lead Nigeria. And like we always say when we come on the program, remember to always love Nigeria. Do your best for this country. My name is Ubong Osara in Abuja, and I'm saying bye for now.